Hey guys, back at me is here. We got Sabrina Teenage Witch Season 5, Episode 7. Welcome Traveler. Okay, so this episode starts off with Zelda leading to some venting, and Sam the cat gets this package, and after the intro, we get Sabrina in her class with Miles, and there's the chair, and he's like, hey, what do you see his chair? And Miles is like, Sabrina gets it wrong, so he's like, what chair? And he's like, that's the correct answer. It's a what chair. So some kids who we never seen before that come up to Miles and Sabrina, and they're like, hey, want to come to this party, Miles? And Miles is like, and Miles is like, Miles, this thing is looking into, and then he nudges her, tell her to stop saying what he looks into paranormally, and so Sabrina, Roxy and Sabrina are like, hey, let's go to a movie, but they're like, but Miles, he wants to go to this place. He wants to go to some place, and so there's also a side plot in this episode with Salem accidentally talking in front of this Japanese guy, this Japanese seller, and the seller wants to profit off Salem talking for a lot of money, and it's just it's not as great as this plot, but it's just okay. It's not a great plot like Sam the Cat having to be profit off of, which well anyway. Now Sabrina, Roxy, and Miles go to that place, and they meet this guy named Tim Ross or whatever, and actually they meet him by the end because they're watching a video, and it's kind of getting creepy in this place. And Roxy is like, hey, you wanna go to that movie? Sabrina's like, sure, and then we flash forward we skip 3 days later, and Miles is still at that place, and now he's really invested in what this guy has to say, and they really think this guy's a witch. So Sabrina goes to Zelda, and Zelda's like, hey, do the knuckle test, and he's like, and she's like, what's that? And she's like, take a hair off him, and see if he's a witch or not. And so Sabrina turns herself into a fly, but it has her face and it has hands, and it's really creepy. And so Sabrina discovers that this guy really isn't. He's bad. He wants to use the people that follow him in the cult to take their money for his retirement, which is kind of like, dude, you are evil. And Sabrina tries to convince them, saying, hey, this guy is evil. But they're like, Sabrina, everyone says that, until she reveals that, so the Chinese guy tried to sell it off to that guy, tried to sell off Salem talking to the guy, but Sabrina saves Salem just in time by putting a mute not talk spell on him so he doesn't talk. And then they reveal that he's a bad guy. One of the guys, Frank or whatever I think his name is, I'm probably wrong. He's like, hey, that guy stole his couch. And his other thing, he thought that he was gonna use it for money and use it for send it to orphans, but no, he's wanted it for himself. That's how awful this guy is. And everyone leaves the cult because they realize how much of an evil guy this guy. And Sabrina's like, hey, you're not a witch, so I can just show you my secret. And he's like, yeah, your cult, they left you, bro. They discovered that you're nothing but You're nothing but a con artist on a keyboard. Actually, that's a reference, but they didn't actually say it like that. They, she actually says they discovered that you're a con artist. They all left you, and yeah, and she turns it into an actual tiger, and he leaves, and Sabrina does the and makes the cat talk again, and yeah, and Miles is like, hey Sabrina, I'm glad you told me about this guy. This guy was awful. This guy was awful, and you're a good friend. And he's like, and she's like, thanks, Miles. And he's like, if you ever gonna get in trouble, I'll save you. And yeah, that basically wraps up this episode. Yeah, and Zell returns at the end, but we don't talk about that because I'm talking about the end credits. Well, anyway, this episode was interesting. Yeah, it was a cult. This episode was better than the farm on Riverdale because in that show, their cult was harvesting organs, which is still awful, and I hate the season, and I hate Riverdale season 3. That season should go. That season should go. I hate it. But this guy was just using them for their money. He was just trying to be like, oh yeah, if they believe that if he actually can levitate, which he can't, and Sabrina can. Yeah. So this episode wasn't. I feel like part A was more interesting than part B because part B was just about Sam the cat being profited off by this Japanese guy or Chinese guy who saw him talk by accident and wanted to use them for money, and then he sent him to the other guy, and then yeah, and then the cult guy, ended up losing all his cult members because they all realized what a fraud he is. So yeah, so like, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and wonderful evening, and I'll see you next Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Boom.